They woke up this morning and their families will say goodbye today.
How a real ID is a real opportunity to save lives as an organ donor.
I could see the inside of my nose and it was hard to look at.
Removing skin cancer from the nose and making it look good as new. And what scientists are hoping to learn from these chimps and their jungle first aid. Welcome to Eye on Health, where we focus on stories that affect your physical and mental well-being. I'm Bradley Blackburn. We begin with the revolutionary GLP-1 medications increasingly being used to treat a spectrum of health problems, from diabetes to liver conditions. But for many hoping to use them to lose weight, there's a simple question: which medication is most effective? Christian Benavidez has more on the first head-to-head trial of two popular drugs that found surprising differences.
The use of injectable weight loss drugs has skyrocketed, with at least 1 in 8 U.S. adults reporting use, according to a 2024 KFF survey. Now new research shows tirzepatide, or Zepbound, showed superior weight loss over semaglutide, or Wegovy. After 72 weeks, patients on tirzepatide lost about 20% of their body weight. Patients on semaglutide lost about 14%.
And that translates to about a difference of 8 pounds on average between the two drugs. Now, it is important to note that this study was funded by Lilly, which makes tirzepatide. So you always need to take that with a grain of salt.
About 40% of adults are obese, according to the CDC. That means more than 100 million adults with obesity in the U.S. The study, published in the New England Journal of Medicine, also finds as people in both groups lost more weight, they saw additional health benefits. Dr. Celine Gounder is a CBS News medical contributor and editor-at-large for public health at KFF.
We're seeing people's blood pressure come down, their diabetes numbers, their blood sugars improve, their cholesterol numbers improve. So this is not just the weight loss, it's also health indicators.
The study also shows men taking these drugs lost less weight than women. Christian Benavidez, CBS News, Miami.
At the White House, President Trump mentioned the cost of weight loss drugs during an event about lowering the price of prescription medication. The president was recalling a conversation he had with one of his friends.
President, could I ask you a question? What? I'm in London, and I just paid for this damn fat drug I take. I said, it's not working. He said, I just paid $88, and in New York I pay $1,300. What the hell is going on?
The president signed an executive order setting a 30-day deadline for drug makers to lower the cost of prescription medicine and asked his top health officials to meet with pharmaceutical companies to broker a deal. If they fail to do so, Trump says his administration will tie what Medicare and Medicaid pay for some medications to the lowest price paid by other developed countries.
Some prescription drug and pharmaceutical prices will be reduced almost immediately by 50 to 80 to 90%. Big Pharma will either abide by this principle voluntarily or will use the power of the federal government to ensure that we are paying the same price as other countries.
Nearly 20% of Americans are enrolled in Medicare. It's unclear how this could change what the rest of the country pays for prescription drugs. Some pharmaceutical organizations released statements opposing the executive order, calling it a step towards socialized medicine and saying it will negatively impact drug research. The courts blocked a similar plan that Trump tried to implement during his first administration. Medicaid, which provides health insurance for low-income Americans, could be a target of Trump budget cuts. Critics say that is a prescription for disaster. Here's Nicole Killian.
I've been dealing with most of this, my whole life.
24-year-old Yoli De Leon Beltran has been coping with chronic health issues affecting her joints and nervous system since she was a child, which requires a lot of medication.
Overall, it's about 30.
30 medications?
Yes.
That's a lot.
Yes. Yes.
How do you pay for all of this?
I am very fortunate that I have Medicaid. They have been paying 100% for most of my medications.
But she worries her coverage could be impacted as House Republicans finalize portions of President Trump's legislative package, seeking at least $880 billion in savings that could include Medicaid. Valley Health CEO Mark Nance runs 6 rural hospitals in Virginia and West Virginia and has lobbied lawmakers several times this year.
We need a solution that's workable. And throwing out a number like $880 billion, I mean, that somebody's going to get hurt in that situation.
GOP lawmakers argue the latest proposal would strengthen Medicaid and eliminate waste and abuse. While it backs off deeper cuts, it would require recipients work, volunteer, or attend school up to 80 hours per month. The Congressional Budget Office says at least 8.6 million people could become uninsured if the bill becomes law.
Would you have to close your doors?
We'd have to think about, can we keep every location open? I don't think Valley Health would go out of business per se, but I think that Valley Health would look substantially different.
For Yoli, who visits Valley Health's main hospital about once a month, it's a lifeline.
What would you say to lawmakers?
There are people on this program that would not be alive right now if it weren't for this program.
Nicole Killian, CBS News.
The FDA is getting ready to take prescription fluoride drops and tablets for kids off the market. This comes as Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy fights to remove fluoride from our drinking water. Fluoride helps prevent cavities in children and adults and reduces tooth decay by 25%. Research shows there are no serious health risks with fluoride when taken in the correct amounts.
What it does is make the enamel more resistant to decay.
Republican Congressman and dentist Mike Simpson issued a warning to Kennedy during a budget hearing on Capitol Hill.
If you are successful in banning fluoride, we better put a lot more money into dental education because we're going to need a whole lot more dentists.
Based on his experience, Dr. William Sasser is expecting to see more patients with worse teeth.
The most dramatic changes, though, that I've seen have been in my international travels. Particularly in Latin America, we see it's a sad story of just endless numbers of patients that come to us with teeth that are really bad, many of which can't be fixed, particularly even with young people.
More than 70 million Americans, 8 million of them children, have no dental insurance. Staying with our drinking water, the Environmental Protection Agency is planning to weaken restrictions on so-called forever chemicals. PFAS are man-made substances that can take thousands of years to break down in the environment. They have been found in more than 2,700 water systems across the U.S., affecting 158 million Americans, and have been linked to heart disease, cancers, hormonal disruptions, and abnormal development of babies and children. The Biden administration set the first federal drinking water limits for PFAS last year. Now the EPA wants to push back the compliance date to 2031 for 2 chemicals and is considering rescinding the limits for 4 others.
These chemicals are just exquisitely toxic.
Eric Olson is the Senior Strategic Director for Health at the Natural Resources Defense Council and has pushed the government to set regulations. He says there's no reason to delay fixing this problem.
There's $9 billion already set aside in the bipartisan infrastructure law to help water utilities pay for this. And also, the water utilities sued the polluters and got $12.5 billion in a settlement. So there's over $20 billion sitting on the table right now for the water utilities to use to try to clean this up.
The Biden administration estimated it could cost $1.5 billion a year to comply with the regulations. If you have an upset stomach or sore throat, food might be the last thing on your mind. But skipping meals could only make you feel worse. So what should you eat when you're sick? Jeff Wagner explains why some age-old remedies have expert approval.
Deliciousness on wheels with a side of sunshine, made for a busy lunch hour in downtown Minneapolis.
What did you order today?
I got the gyro and fries.
I ordered a cheeseburger. Would you eat that if you were feeling sick?
Probably not, no.
Not necessarily, no.
Food truck menus might satisfy your stomach, but to soothe it when sick requires a different recipe.
Usually like parfaits, something with fruit.
Ginger ale and crackers.
Like some pho or like some soup.
Choices Sarah Harbeck, a registered and licensed dietitian, appreciates.
Oftentimes when our body is fighting off any sort of illness or infection, our nutritional needs become elevated.
Have you heard of the BRAT diet?
No, what's that?
It's spelled like brat.
No, we're not saying to eat brats. The acronym stands for bananas, rice, applesauce, toast.
They're pretty bland, so especially if we have a decreased appetite on top of things, they can be a little bit easier to get in.
They also break down easily while giving you needed calories. What should you eat if you're dealing with a cold or the flu?
So there's not necessarily a specific diet for a cold, but again, nutrient density and hydration becomes extremely important there.
What is it about soup that is leaned on so much when sick?
It's actually hitting that hydration piece kind of right away. And specifically with our broth-based soups, these are really easily digestible as well.
Soup also has veggies and proteins filled with necessary nutrients.
And I feel like it's good to kind of get away from all that processed food.
Speaking of foods to avoid, Harbeck's list includes alcohol, which weakens your immune system. Caffeine can prevent you from resting, while high-fat foods can further irritate your stomach.
Burgers, anything greasy.
Probably doesn't even sound good when you're sick anyway.
Look, I'm already making faces, sorry.
Jeff Wagner, CBS News, Minneapolis.
Coming up, why now may be the perfect time to become an organ donor, and expanding access to skin cancer exams. Welcome back. Real ID rules are driving many Americans to head to the DMV, but transplant organizations hope getting a new license could also help save lives if more people opt into organ donation. Ashley Sharp has more.
From sitting to standing in long lines at the DMV.
In the morning time, you're looking at anywhere from 2 to 4 hours of a wait.
But if you find yourself waiting and waiting, organ procurement organizations around the country are asking you to consider that more than 100,000 people are on the national transplant list waiting for an organ.
17 people on that 100,000 wait list will run out of time today. They woke up this morning and their families will say goodbye today.
Sierra Donor Services has been connecting Northern California patients to life-saving organs for 40 years. Last year, they secured 425 transplants from 170 deceased donor heroes.
For everybody waiting in line at the DMV, you might be a little tired, you might be a little frustrated, but you can do some really good work and make a plan to one day save up to 8 people's lives.
Limami Mabanta is one of them.
So now I'm just waiting. I found out last week it's going to be a 5-year wait for me.
She's on dialysis in kidney failure, constantly wondering, will she find her life-saving match?
I wake up thinking about it. It takes a toll, but I told myself and I promised myself that I'm here for a purpose.
More than 90% of organ donor registrations come through the DMV. So the hope is your yes to become a donor today may be one less no for patients like Limami. Ashley Sharp, CBS News, Sacramento.
Skin cancer is the most common cancer in the U.S., but only a small percentage of adults say they've received a skin cancer exam. Prevention and early detection can reduce your risk, and that's why the Skin Cancer Foundation created a program to make screenings more accessible. CBS News Chief Medical Correspondent Dr. John LaPook takes a closer look.
Rainy, dreary spring weather didn't stop New Yorkers from lining up for free skin cancer screenings at this RV mobile site just blocks away from the Empire State Building. 32-year-old Megan Vasquez has never been screened for skin cancer before, but a questionable-looking mole on her leg got her attention.
Have you ever had a problem with your skin?
Vasquez has health insurance, but says skin cancer examinations were never top of mind.
I just noticed that the mole has had a darkened spot within the last year.
So point me in the right direction.
I just haven't been able to have the time. So when I saw that this was going to be here at 8:30 in the morning, I was like, yeah, that's perfect. I'm available at that time.
The screening RV is part of the Skin Cancer Foundation's Destination Healthy Skin program. Launched in 2008, it brings skin cancer screenings directly to communities where access to a dermatologist may be limited. This year, the RV will visit at least 30 U.S. cities in at least 20 states, with volunteer dermatologists offering full-body skin exams and education about skin safety.
Our program here is all about saving lives and finding cancer early.
Dr. Deborah Sarnoff is president of the Skin Cancer Foundation.
Some people have insurance, but they can't afford the deductible, the copay, the coinsurance, and other people do not have insurance. And so this is a way to get a free skin exam, costing nothing, and to get educated about the signs, what to look for early detection.
Because most skin cancer can be cured when diagnosed and treated early. Dr. John LaPook, CBS News, New York.
The nose is one of the most sun-exposed parts of the body and therefore prone to skin cancer. But removing cancer can be quite disfiguring. As Dr. Malika Marshall explains, surgeons have found a creative way to make those patients look good as new.
Jean Marie Finocchio was a typical high school sun worshiper.
It was bad. You know, I had very bad burns. I always burned.
But for more than 30 years, she's been covering up.
I was always the one under the blanket, under the umbrella.
So it came as a surprise when 2 years ago, the 61-year-old noticed a small white patch on her nose. Basal cell carcinoma, the most common form of skin cancer. After 4 procedures to remove the cancer, she was left with a gaping hole.
Literally a hole. I could see the cartilage, I could see the inside of my nose, and it was hard to look at.
When someone needs to have a skin cancer removed from the tip of the nose, not only can it be disfiguring, but it can also cause permanent breathing problems.
And then we just find a way to reconstruct whatever is missing to kind of put you back to as normal as possible.
Dr. Linda Lee is a facial plastic surgeon at Mass Eye and Ear.
My goal is 1 year after surgery. Your cancer's cleared, you've finished your reconstruction, you're sitting in a brightly lit room like this, and people talking to you don't notice your scars.
To achieve that, Dr. Lee borrows skin from the forehead and attaches it to the tip of the nose, where it remains for several weeks.
At the beginning, you almost have a little hose giving your skin graft blood supply, and then after it's survived and it's happy, then you can take that little trunk of skin and just actually, in a second little surgery, we just throw it in the trash. I think at the beginning it is very scary because you look weird. In the end, patients usually are happy they went through it.
Jean Marie sure is. She said there was practically no pain, and friends and family are amazed by the results.
Amazing. They're like, I can't believe you have that. You know, you grew a nose is what they said, you know.
And most importantly, she's glad to be cancer-free. Dr. Malika Marshall, CBS News, Boston.
After the break, new evidence chimpanzees are giving themselves medical care and what parents are worried about when it comes to screen time. Welcome back. It's a question many parents may have different answers for: how to handle a child's screen time and keep them safe. Experts say the best way to start is by talking with your children about your concerns. Christian Benavides has more.
They're gonna be flowers, Mom.
As 8-year-old Elia blossoms into a young adult, her parents know sunlight, not a screen's blue light, will help her to grow.
I am a little afraid of what I'm gonna have to face the older she gets. But I'm also realistic in knowing that this is just the world she's growing up in, so I have to have real conversations with her.
Sia Chekwa and her husband keep close eyes on the tablets their children use, but outnumbered 3-2, they worry about what slips through the cracks.
Is it age appropriate? Can someone talk to them on there? Is something going to pop up that I don't want them to see? Those are our biggest concerns.
That's a concern shared by many parents. According to the Kids Mental Health Foundation, the top fears parents have around screen time are privacy and safety concerns, exposure to misinformation, and not socializing in person.
We know that kids that spend more than 3 hours on social media a day have higher risk of things like depression and anxiety.
Ariana Howitt is the foundation's executive clinical director. She recommends explaining time limits and potential consequences ahead of time.
Kids, their brains are developing. We cannot expect them to set their own boundaries. Kids are not going to put their phone away on their own.
8 in 10 parents say they actively do something to manage screen time. The Chekwas set time limits. They also get help from Elia, who keeps tabs on what her little brothers are watching.
When you're busy with work and you're running around making dinner and all those things, just making sure that everyone's on the same page in the household, I think is important.
Keeping the family on the same page as the kids travel the digital world. Christian Benavides, CBS News, Miami.
Musician Nick Jonas has returned to the Broadway stage, bringing with him a set of challenges for his type 1 diabetes. It's a lifelong autoimmune disease that requires round-the-clock monitoring of blood sugar levels and injecting insulin. As Julianne Ferreira reports, the Jonas brother is trying to normalize the stigma around the disease, even while performing.
Nick Jonas is back on stage, taking on the role of Jamie in the Broadway production of the last 5 years.
It's really liberating. You know, there's no place where you get to combine all these things in one place, singing, dancing, acting, and storytelling in the way that you can on the Broadway stage.
Jonas is a leading man managing the physical toll of 8 shows a week, along with type 1 diabetes. He learned his diagnosis at age 13, around the time he and siblings Joe and Kevin formed the Jonas Brothers.
I come in, I think, with a real focus and sense of understanding of the importance of any project because of the amount of times I have to make real-time decisions while living with this disease. You know, often categorized as a manageable disease, and with the right management of it, it can be, but it can also be incredibly difficult, and for a lot of people it is.
Jonas has been outspoken about his type 1 diabetes over the course of his career, even penning the song a little bit longer about his diagnosis. He invited Dexcom warriors to a special viewing of his Broadway show. Like Jonas, these aspiring performers need to wear a continuous glucose monitoring system.
I think opportunities where we actually get to have that face-to-face interaction and feel a part of something and feel like we're not alone in that, you know, as powerful as social media is and has become, can't beat that human connection.
The 32-year-old doesn't hide his wearable device on stage.
It's a normal thing, and there's so many diabetics out there who wear their devices proudly, and he's one of those people, and I think that's awesome.
He was super transparent, he was honest, he was caring, he felt like a real human, and as someone who grew up watching him, I was truly inspired.
Jonas continues to live his dreams under the bright lights, while showing others with diabetes the disease doesn't have to define them. Julianne Ferreira, CBS News, New York.
There's no monkeying around when it comes to surviving in the jungle. Scientists have captured new video of chimpanzees giving first aid to themselves and others. As Tina Kraus reports, this builds on a breakthrough discovery made last year that chimps use certain plants to self-medicate.
Researchers have had their eyes on these apes in East Africa for years, knowing this forest isn't just their home, but a natural pharmacy too, where chimpanzees channel the healing power of plants to treat their wounds.
Some of the plants that the chimpanzees are using for these wound care behaviors actually have known traditional uses in human medicine. Others have pharmacological properties that are actually known to have wound healing components.
Now, scientists say there's evidence chimps give first aid not just to themselves, but to others too. Look closely and you can see this young female dabbing chewed plant material onto an injury on her mother's body. University of Oxford researchers are cataloging all the ways intelligent apes are dabbling in what's been dubbed as jungle first aid, using nature's medicine to clean cuts, soothe sores, and heal their hurt companions.
Chimpanzees thrive here because they know how to access the secrets of this place.
While life is different for primates in captivity, some zookeepers in England are thinking of planting some of the same forest remedies to see if their chimps will show similar first aid instincts.
Chimps are fascinating, they're so clever.
Scientists say they'll keep studying our closest kin in the wild, hoping to uncover the roots of our relationships. Tina Kraus, CBS News, London.
The natural instinct to care. That's Eye on Health for this week. I'm Bradley Blackburn. Thanks for joining us, and be well.